Welcome. Today is Wednesday, August the 24th, 2022. This is a Board of County Commissioners regular meeting. I notice my lips are not following what I'm saying, but you guys can figure that out. We have Kelly McNicholas Curry is zooming in. I have Greg Postman, Steve Child here in the room with me, and Francie is attending her final, we think, maybe, a meeting with the Wolf Reintroduction Group that she has been she's been going to all the meetings all over the western Colorado, and I really appreciate her effort there. And then we were going to start off this afternoon's meeting with a special guest, with State Representative Julie McCluskey. She is coming. She's not here yet, so just to let everyone know, when Julie gets here, I'm going to put a pause when it's appropriate in our meeting, and we're going to give Julie some time to speak as part of public comment. And I have a little gift here for Julie. Has been an amazing representative for our district and got redistricted out, so we will be keeping her in some capacity, but she's always been so helpful to Pitkin County, so we look forward to seeing her today. So first of all, are there any other additions or deletions to today's agenda?
There are not.
Okay, then I'm going to move on to public comment. Are there any members of the public here in the room that would like to speak on items that are not on today's agenda? Ellen, come forward, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too. I'm going to talk fast.
Okay.
I'll try to keep it to 3 minutes. In my 3 minutes, I'm Ellen Anderson, and I'm a concerned citizen. I live in Aspen Village. In my 3 minutes, I want to reiterate my thoughts from the last Airport Advisory Board meeting on Thursday about what I call the dumbing down of Pitkin County. Pitkin County has a long history of fostering and welcoming respectful and intelligent conversation. That has been eroded in the last 10 years. There's a lot of smart and educated people living and visiting Pitkin County, and that bounty of brain power and vast experience once was welcomed. Now it is being curtailed, in my view, by county staff. Knowledgeable, respectful, and educated input from the public is being prohibited to the fullest extent of the law. That's a change in a county attitude, and it saddens, and quite frankly, it scares me. The county attorney says we don't have to, so we won't. And the county attorney is right. We don't have to, of course, because Colorado laws actually do not require much public input by law. But that doesn't make it right in Pitkin County. We expect more in Pitkin County. We are different in many ways, and that's why many of us choose to live here forever. For example, take the Airport Advisory Board. County staff, not board members, choose the consultants. Consultants make the PowerPoint presentations to the board members. Consultants write the report, or for example, the RFP for the FBO contract. Board members did not even see a draft of that before it was published. And in fact, they didn't see a draft, they didn't see the published until a week after it had been published. Another example, county staff chose consultants for air pollution generated at and around the airport. Consultant has said repeatedly over the years that air emissions can be estimated using a mathematical model using fuel cells. A world-renowned physicist visiting our Aspen Center for Physics heard about that and couldn't believe it. So he, who is a member of the National Academy of Sciences, volunteered his time to address the Airport Advisory Board about measuring and modeling. He was cut off after 3 minutes. Seriously? And I find it really ironic that only a few blocks away, people of his ilk, some of the brightest and most accomplished people, scientists in the world, are being welcomed at the Aspen Institute and the Aspen Center for Physics, and yet we cut him off after 3 minutes. The Airport Advisory Board members insisted he be allowed later in the meeting to ask a few questions, and he did do that for a few minutes. But then guess what? The debunked consultant is now the one invited to speak at the meeting on Friday, the August 26th meeting of the Airport Advisory Board. And this scientist not only was not invited, he's been precluded. And the county staff apparently did an abrupt about-face yesterday. They had stoutly said they were not going to live stream it, so people like him or me and board members who are out of town could not even watch. They did an about-face. It will be live streamed, but there will be no opportunity for interaction. Apparently, and that I think that happened because pressure from some of the Airport Advisory Board's members who were not able to be there. I think that's just my sense. So people who are clearly qualified are being muzzled. And I say, Picken County, what's happening? I think we're muzzling some of the brightest minds on the planet. And very briefly, another example of county control. A respected citizen writes a researched and documented letter to you guys and the Airport Advisory Board. County staff writes a reply back. Fair enough. Then the Airport Advisory Board majority tells staff they want to invite this person to a meeting. Staff tells them, can't do that, our agendas are full. End of conversation. I say no, that should be the beginning of the conversation. You have this, let's get parties together in the room and have intelligent dialogue, and that is what county staff is not allowing. I say, wake up, Picken County. Staff is stifling intelligent conversation. Of course, it is more efficient to keep the pesky public from participating, but it is not right. Please direct staff to facilitate respectful and educated public input. And that's what I'm asking you guys.
Thank you, Ellen. And just so you know, I talked with Rich earlier today, and when John Peacock is back in town, I'm going to meet with Rich and John, and we're going to see what we can figure out to open this door up in some way, deal with staff and with the advisory board, so we can have clear lines of communication.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Ellen.
I appreciate that.
Thanks, Ellen.
Any other members of the public wishing to speak on items not on today's agenda? Do we have anybody online who might be interested? If so, Ray, I don't see anybody else. Do we have any? Nope. Okay. I'm going to leave the public comment period open, so when Representative McCluskey gets here, we can invite her up to speak with us. So I'm going to move on to Board of Commissioners' comments. Any members of the board? Okay, but first, before Steve speaks, I want everyone to know that Steve is going to be going on a little trip on the 27th. He's leaving to go see his new granddaughter, who is what, a month old, maybe?
About a month and a half
A
old.
month and a half old. She's grown up so fast. So thank you. Go
So
ahead,
that's
Steve.
what I was going to talk about. This will be my last in-person meeting until the September 20th, I think, work session. I'll be back then. But I will be, hopefully, the internet willing, be able to zoom into each of our meetings. And we're trying to set me up with a good hotspot, so I'll have hopefully a better connection than I did last summer from that same location where I was last summer.
And we want to see the baby in arms during those meetings, so
Yeah, I'll like have her be waving at me.
we get up close and personal. Yeah, we're in. Congratulations, Grandpa.
Thank you.
We're excited. Greg, do you have any comments?
Nope.
Kelly?
Thank you. I will start slowly beating the drum. 12 weeks from yesterday to Election Day, folks. So please, now's the time to check your voter registration and make sure your information is accurate and you plan to be out of the country. You will be surprised to know that you can get your ballot by the end of September and start looking through that. So please visit pitkinvotes.com and you will find all the links to update your registration and the calendar for the election, etc. Thank you.
Thank you. The only comment I have is that we have been receiving enormous amounts of rain, which is a blessing for our wildfire season. We have had multiple flash flood warnings. This last weekend was more like an Amber Alert. It came over with lights and sirens and everything on your phone. Really warning people to really be respectful when flash flood warnings go out. Flash floods take lives. Even when you think you can beat the water or go through the water, most of the deaths from flash floods occur in vehicles. So please, I want everybody to be respectful of Mother Nature. And I can't believe that we're already at the end of August, and soon we will be shoveling snow, hopefully again soon. So after we put our gardens to bed. So please enjoy the rest of the beautiful summer that we have in the fall, and be safe out there. Okay, so I'm going to bring it back to the board for our consent item agenda, which is the minutes of the August 10th, 2022 regular meeting. And we have a resolution to appoint Michael Miracle to our Citizens Grant Review Committee. I know that they are already gearing up. We have more grant requests this year than ever, and we have a significant grant for a significant amount of money that we haven't seen in the past. So we're glad to have Michael on that board. So Steve, you don't have to pull that off consent. I already read Michael's name and thanked him for applying. Michael Miracle does a lot of work on community advisory boards, and he's a pretty awesome member. So I have those 2 items on the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
I have a motion and I have a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Great, thank you very much. Moving on to the next item, this is individual consideration items, public hearing. This is a second reading. This is a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Pitkin County, Colorado, acting as the Ambulance District Board, submitting to the electorate at the election to be held November 8th, 2022, a ballot question for the Aspen Ambulance District. It is a ballot measure, and we have staff here to present. So please.
And hi, Phyllis Mattice, Deputy County Manager. This is deja vu for me. I was part of the ballot question that we created in 2014. So here I am again. And with me, I'll let you introduce.
Ann Driggers, Finance Director, Treasurer, and Public Trustee.
Hi, I'm Gabe Newthing. I'm the Aspen Ambulance Chief of EMS.
And before I get started, apparently there was some confusion in the community, and I want to make it clear that the hospital does not, they're not the operators, they just are the fiscal agent for the ambulance district. It is the responsibility of the ambulance district is up to the Board of County Commissioners, who serves as the ambulance district board. So funding issues and everything come through the county, not through the hospital. So this is a request, this is a ballot measure being brought forward by the Board of County Commissioners on behalf of the ambulance district. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, we started this journey on the 26th with direction to have ballot language. First reading was 2 weeks ago on August 9th. Whoop, going back. The question has not changed. This was the question that you were presented. It is the same. No changes there. I did include in this presentation a map of the district because the district is not all of Pitkin County. It borders the Roaring Fork Fire Rescue Authority district, and in the Crystal, Pitkin County served by Carbondale Fire. So this map indicates the district, and this will be the citizens that vote on this particular ballot question. Calculated mill levy, we're now asking for a total of 1.1 mills. The pro forma was done. This is the same information you were presented at first reading, where a home with an actual value of $1 million would pay $26.45 a year. A commercial property with an actual value of $1 million would pay $319 a year. And the commercial property is really important when we talk about who receives service from the ambulance district. Employees of businesses on commercial property that are served by the Aspen Ambulance District, and if they have an issue while at work, they're going to be provided service by the Aspen Ambulance District. So that is an important piece. At first reading, you asked for specific information, which we have for you today. Resident versus non-resident numbers, current requested mill levy compared to other like districts, which was a hard one. We do have two to give you as an example. The cost of special events, and then comparison costs.
I'll take this one. So the question that you asked us was how many of our calls are for residents or for tourists? And we were able to pull a bunch of data. That data was based on zip codes from billing. So when we bill a person for service, their billing zip code is what we pull out. Now, the only caveat to that is we cannot guarantee that that person doesn't own a second home here, that doesn't own property here, but just on their main billing address. And what we found was about 35% of our business seems to be that tourist or visiting population. So that's a fairly large number, but not unexpected. And and I see Dave Ressler's on here as well. This seems to be fairly a very significant or a similar number to what the hospital's seeing as well. So not unusual at all. But hopefully that sheds a little light on that question that you had.
So the next slide is part of the research that I did. You requested, I believe, Kelly requested a comparison with districts in Colorado, what the mill levies were. This was a challenge because there are actually only 2 ambulance districts that are not combined with other kinds of medical or emergency services in Colorado. They are Eagle County and Grand County. Both of them are countywide. However, what I did do was try and calculate the population that they were serving in general and calculate tax revenue per the population served. So I'll just go through this spreadsheet in a little more detail. So on the left-hand side, you see our districts, Aspen Ambulance District prior to ballot issue, and then if the ballot issue passes. Eagle County Health Service District, and then Grand County Emergency Medical Services. The next column is mills, which you can see that ours is significantly lower, but that's only one piece of the actual calculation. The assessed valuation is a critical piece. As you can see, our assessed valuation is just shy of $3 billion. Eagle County is probably closest with $3.4 billion, and then Grand County significantly smaller. On the next column shows the tax revenue generated for each of those districts. And you can see there that also the Aspen Ambulance District revenue is less than our comparator districts. So I attempted to calculate the resident population or the population served. So resident population is the number of people residing within the districts. So with Aspen Ambulance District, the population is just over 10,000, significantly more, 55,000 for Eagle County, Grand County, 15,000. Obviously, many of these communities have a significant daytime population that we need to include in that. And I managed to get the number of visitors per the Chamber of Commerce for each of these communities. They're fairly similar in number. And then daytime workers in the district. What I did was I got the number of jobs in Pitkin County, and then using the same population portion of Pitkin County residents, so 59% reside in the ambulance district, calculated it to be just under 10,000 daytime workers in the district. I think because of the concentration of work in Aspen, it's probably higher than that, but this seemed to be the best place to land. And then came up with a number of total population served. So for Aspen Ambulance District, just a little over 24,000 people. Eagle County Health Service District, just under 60,000, and Grand County, 21,000. That turns into a tax revenue per population served. For Grand County, I'll start at the bottom, over $168 per person. Eagle County Health District, $161. Aspen Ambulance District, as it currently stands, is $62. And if the ballot issue passes, $136.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Board have questions? Kelly?
No, thanks, Dan. That was a thoughtful way to make these numbers meaningful. I guess, do you think there's any overlap between the resident population and the daytime workers that would make that number perhaps slightly larger?
Possibly, but I think it would be it's just such a nebulous number to tie down. I felt this was the most accurate way of doing so. And especially with Aspen probably having more workers. So I think it would probably even out.
Okay, thank you. And then Patty, I don't know if it's appropriate to ask now. I was curious about the map, if there's housing units that are outside of that map that are not otherwise covered by a different ambulance district.
I think I understand your question. If we, I don't know if you want to go back to
Go
the
back to
map,
the
but
map.
there are not, to my knowledge, everybody should be covered within the valley. We obviously, you can see our district there in blue. Those areas in Snowmass Village and down valley further are covered by the Roaring Fork Fire Rescue Authority for EMS services. So no, there shouldn't be anybody who's not covered by a district.
Okay, thank you, good.
So anything else on there, like Upper Valley is US Forest Service, would be my understanding.
That's correct. You'll notice that, the three areas of Castle Creek, Maroon Creek, and then obviously up Highway 82, there's significant amounts of Forest Service up there as well. The Highway 82 extension goes all the way over to the county lines, which is past the summit of Independence Pass, which you probably saw in the news here recently. We've had quite a few calls up there this year. But no property owners other than the Forest
Right,
Service.
right.
So,
We had that one just 2 weeks ago.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Any other questions from the board on the information supplied so far?
Nope, I'm good, thanks. This is very nice,
Okay.
very clear.
Yeah, that was really actually very clear. Thank you. Good job. Steve?
I really like that
economics.
we're including the daytime workers in our figures and also the visiting population, because that's like the total number of people actually in town who might have a medical emergency and need your services.
Absolutely. And we want to serve everyone equally, right? Regardless if you're a visitor or a resident. We provide the best service possible to everyone. So
In other words, we don't ask them for their zip code before we offer them help.
that is correct. That is correct. So the next thing that we wanted to talk about is the special events coverage, because I know that that's been a point to look at from a revenue standpoint. Is there enough revenue in special events for us to be able to support the district in a sustainable format? And so we kind of did a deep dive in that to really look at what the cost of that is and the profit possibilities to be able to support the district. So first and foremost, so this is for 2021. And if you'll notice on the line there for special events, we billed $85,450 in special event service fees. And as we talked about last time, those service fees are made up of either a full ambulance, a single resource, which is just a single person, or we do have a couple of other event fees, which is a complex event fee, so multi-day event that needs a lot of planning. We have an additional fee for that, and then we also have fees for prep time and takedown time if it's a larger event as well. So total billed in 2021 was $85,450. We'll go to the next slide there. Do I have control or do you?
Could you just describe, when you say patient revenue on this, this is patient revenue from special events related?
Oh, sorry, do I have control? You have control.
Sorry.
The patient revenue is the other revenue source that we have, which is when we do transport somebody and we charge them a bill for that transport. That is separate from the special events and not associated.
Separate from the fee, the
From
special
the
events
fee,
fee?
that is correct. That is
But we're
correct.
assuming those happened at the special event we're talking about,
Yeah,
or at a?
no, that revenue from, that patient revenue is our total patient revenue. Just
Okay,
a normal
entire-
911
oh,
call
thank
has
you.
nothing to do with special events. I
All right.
apologize, we probably should have.
Yeah, and
Pull that out.
I would just clarify that there are three types of revenue for the ambulance district generally. You have your special events, your patient revenue, and then property tax revenue.
Right, got it, okay. So that's the entire patient revenue for the entire operation.
Right.
Yes.
And it's
So special events
basically
is,
3% of the total current revenue of
Okay.
the district.
I was about to say that, thank you.
My apologies for the confusion there. So deep dive into special events. So just to give you an idea of 2021, I wanted to have a full year to show you, we all know the events that come here throughout the year. So 2021, a good year for us. Obviously, COVID had started to wane a little bit, and we were coming back into special event world. So Of that amount billed, that was 778 individual personnel hours. So for just the people side alone of this, we had 778 hours worked. That comes to a cost of $51,737. And then, of course, if the ambulance is contracted to do the special events, we had about 206 vehicle hours for that. And so we assign a cost to that vehicle use. That's fuel, maintenance, equipment, things like that. So a total cost to just provide the service alone was $72,000, which left us with about a $13,000 profit. So not a whole lot. So then the next question comes up, and that is, let's talk about fees. What can we do with our fees? Can we raise those fees? Can we change those fees to garner a little bit more revenue? So we wanted to look at just the cost of doing this and where we were in the ballpark of other services. So Roaring Fork Fire, who is our next closest here in the valley, is the other one that provides EMS services to special events, and they are the exact same cost as we are. We have the same $200 an hour for ALS ambulances and crew, and $80 an hour for single resources. Now, regionally, I went ahead and looked at private services, those that are not attached to government services, hospitals, anything like that. And they were $175 an hour and then $60 an hour for single resource. Now, there is some variability in those numbers. They will tack on a different cost if there is different event needs, distances, need for housing if they come in, something like that. But obviously a little bit lower than where we are. As we looked around the Central Mountains region and other services around the Central Mountains, just to kind of give an idea, the highest we saw was $250, but the average was about $225. So we're actually right roughly where we need to be. Now, it is important to note that $250 an hour was by a service that also reduced their costs significantly if you were a nonprofit or they had some other community flavor to them. Just as a note, we do not. We charge the same amount regardless of the service because it is the level of service that we want to provide. Go on to the next one here. So knowing that, so what if we went to the highest rate that we've seen, and that's that $250, which would be a 25% increase in our fees, which would bring our rates to a $250 for an ambulance or $100 for a single resource. That would change our revenues to $106,000, $107,000 there with that 25% increase. If we use the same costs as it takes for us for both personnel and equipment, that 72 number still stands, and it brings our profits to 34. So still not a large amount, and certainly not a number that is able to support the district in a sustainable fashion. Now, one more thing to note about special events. 57% of those billed services in 2021 came from 2 events. Those 2 events were X Games, and then there was an FIS event at Buttermilk this year as well. 57% of what we billed were those 2 events alone. Now, knowing or not knowing what we're going to see in the future, if X Games is going to be back and what their the type of services we'll need for that, will it be as large? Will it be larger? We don't know. We don't know if it'll be around. We don't know if we can count on that. We do know that FIS World Cup Downhill is slated for 2023, but at this point it doesn't seem to be a guaranteed annual event. So in that regard, if we were to have either one of those events or neither of those events come up, it dramatically reduces any revenue source that we have for this. So it's just not sustainable. Now, I would like to point out, too, that there are, all of our events, as I mentioned, are charged the same way. We charge the same amount regardless of who's asking. It's really the service that they're paying for. There's really only 2 events that we don't charge for. One of those is the Aspen High School football games, and I am very proud to be able to support them in that way and help support our skiers. The second thing is for community health events. So I think most of you know, when we did the mass vaccination tent here in the county, we did that with an ambulance there every time we did it for the entire length of the event for no charge. So that is a community benefit, and that is certainly something, again, that we are very, very proud to be able to support the community with. But other than those 2 things, everybody's charged the same. And in the end, looking at all this, I think it's a fairly simple concept in my mind that this just really isn't a sustainable thing or a district sustainability revenue piece for us. I'm still very proud to provide the service, and I'm very proud that we're able to provide that service at the level we are. But I don't see it as a revenue source. for us to
Not a
change.
profit center
Not a profit
of
center.
any significant. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I was thinking about, you've got the ambulance, you've got a single resource, somewhere in there is the cost of their kit. And that's included in your expenses, of course. I guess the individual's gonna have a kit that gets billed, or, I just want to, weren't there any other hidden costs, just expenses that are draining you? Just want to know if that's how you bill for that, or how you account for that.
Absolutely, thank you. And
Kit
that's
rental.
included, yeah, typically. And that's included in that vehicle cost. When we look at the vehicle is just one large kit, if you
Got
will.
it, okay.
Most of our special events, we use small things, Band-Aids, ibuprofen, things like that. But if it is a larger injury, a more serious injury, and we actually transport them, then there is a separate bill for that transport as well. So I don't feel like we're losing out on any costs there or any reimbursements that we need to grab.
Great, thanks for this.
You bet.
Steve, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Well, actually, I did have one. Okay, football games, what about hockey and lacrosse and all the other things that kids do? I'm just, not that I'm trying to find you more free services to conduct, but just wondering, is there ever anybody ever ask about that?
That's a great question. And no, nobody has asked about that. I'm probably opening up a can of worms here.
Sorry.
Football, I know.
For bringing it up, Craig.
Thanks. No, I think what we see is that most of those other things, I know that the hockey arena has some trained staff there. I do believe, and don't quote me on this, but I do believe that the football games have a requirement to have an ambulance there, and I'm not sure that the others do. At least that's in my conversations with the team at Aspen High School, that is the case for us putting one there.
And I think that started when my son was playing football at Aspen High School.
Yeah, we saw a blip in the
Yeah,
cost.
that's Patty's there, yeah.
I was going to make a comment about hockey players being tougher and not needing it, but
No, and when my son played soccer, they didn't, yeah, that was different than football.
Those guys hit each other with sticks, and they
Right.
don't need it. What's up with that?
Lacrosse, he got hit in a gym class with lacrosse and had to go to the ER, so,
right, yeah. I think they all have their issues for
yeah,
sure. But
yeah, any of them do, even the girls' dance team,
Well, thank you,
Agreed.
thank you so
Agreed.
much.
yeah.
So that's all the additional information we have. I think we hit it all.
Well, I just want to make a comment about the sustainability. I noted, and I circled it throughout the agenda item summary, that is one of the keys here, is the sustainability of our financial, what we need to do in the future. And as much as we would like to believe we're going to still have these major events like X Games, that's not, there's a contract and we're out of that loop. So, there's some other big events like the Buddy Bash. We don't know what's going to happen with the sale of that property. So we have a lot of unknowns. But I want to thank the member of the public who brought this to our attention, because we directed staff to look into that to see if there was some way we could reduce the mill levy that would still have the financial sustainability that we need to keep the ambulance district there when you when you need them. So I really, really appreciate the effort that staff did to turn this around and provide this information for us. So I'm going to bring it back to the board for any other discussions, and then this is a public hearing. So if the board would like, I can open the public hearing now. Okay, this is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on this item on our agenda? I'm going to have Rick, you can come forward, and then Ellen, I'll have you come up after Rick.
Okay, thanks.
And just give your name for the public.
I'm Fire Chief in Aspen Fire Protection District.
And you would like to make a comment?
I would like to make a comment. I just wanted to comment how strongly I support as Fire Chief and our fire department supports this mill levy increase for the Aspen Ambulance District. Especially over the last several years, our two districts have really got a collaboration going, a synergy going that's unbelievable. And because of that, because of the cross-training that we're doing now with Aspen Ambi personnel, with our people, both career and volunteer firefighters, is I believe our community safer, and I'd like to see our community support this to make it even stronger than it is now, because it's incredibly good to be able to work alongside with Gabe and his crews, because it's all good.
Great, and I saw you guys out on the highway on Sunday at that accident at Aspen Village, and I saw everybody meshing together and working on that effort, so it was nice to see, but it was good to see everybody there
And
together.
it's not just with our own agencies as well. You mentioned that call up on top of the pass the other day. That was on Lake County side. I was on that call myself, along with a couple of ambulance people from Aspen Ambulance and also with Lake County. So the synergy and the collaboration that I've seen with all of our agencies, not just in county but out of county, both with Gabe's forces and ours and others, is incredible. And I like to see us continue that path and make it even stronger.
Yep, mutual aid has a purpose out there, that's for sure.
So,
And I think that's a great part of this community.
Right.
So thanks, Rick.
Question,
Yeah.
Rick, if I could, Fire District just did a ballot measure. How recent was that?
2018.
Right, I'm just thinking, any advice, suggestion, ways to reach out to make sure the community understands?
I mean, what we did at the time is just, let the public know we're there for them at any time and, make sure they understand what we do. A lot of people don't really understand exactly what both our agencies do. So just making sure they understand. The presentation you guys put together today that was great. I'm seeing how many customers do we have? They're called customers to us, but they're also our public. So just being out there, getting out there in the public and telling people why we're there, why we need the money.
Right, well, thanks for
And
your support.
it did see it's, mill levy amount is, they're still probably one of the lowest in the state, as our fire department has reasons for that, partly because of property values, but it's still, I think it's a good bargain for our citizens.
And that's a good message to put out.
And since you mentioned the mill levy from 2018, I will put a plug in there. We're having an open house at our fire station housing, fireplace housing at 4 o'clock today. Everyone's welcome to come.
With free tacos.
Free tacos.
Free
yes.
Meet,
And-
meet Fireman Rick. That's my
And-
children
and-
still call you.
No, let's not go there.
So I think if this ballot measure moves forward today, we are going to run a campaign featured "Help is on the Way." We think that's appropriate for both the fire district and the ambulance district. It's
I'm
always
happy-
nice to know that help is on the way.
Happy to be involved in any way I can.
Great,
I think
thanks,
it's
Rick.
important. It's an important initiative, and I think it should hopefully get passed because it's a need.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming
Thanks
over.
for coming.
Thanks.
And we'll come out, those of us who can't make it today, Rick, we'll try and come out another time, and you don't have to give us free tacos when we do.
But that would help.
So Ellen, please come forward.
Just very quickly, thank you. Ellen Anderson, Aspen Village, and by the way, Aspen Village has the highest mill levy of any subdivision in Pickens County. And I can't say enough nice about Gabe and Aspen Ambulance. It's one of the reasons I live here, and the fire department too. We are so lucky. My question was, my question is about process. Years ago, when I was a staff member and I was the person writing resolutions, and we had first reading and second reading, I know that legally you don't have to listen to the public on first reading, and that's part of what I was talking about before. We don't have to, but it sure would be nice. And case in point, 2 weeks ago when I was attending virtually, citizen comments, I want to say something about the ambulance district. No, you can't, because it's an agenda item. Okay, we get to the agenda item. Can I say something? No, you can't, because it's first reading. It's a conundrum. It's a catch-22. I was not allowed to say anything about the Aspen Ambulance District, whereas years ago, when we had more of a spirit, we don't have to let you talk, but we want to hear what you have to say on first reading, and that's the attitude, the culture I'm talking about. I'm obviously I'm for it. I mean, but in my mind, I'm still thinking, why am my taxes on my 50-year-old mobile home going up, and the people who are making money off the World Cup and the X Games are flying around in the Gulf Streams. That's just what goes through my mind. But thank you for answering all the questions. I really appreciate the fact that I really believe you heard me, and I appreciate that very much, and I will vote for it. So thank you. The other thing is, in terms of process, when we have public comments, there are public comments in the Board of County Commission meetings for things not on the agenda. And then when there's a public hearing, or at the proper time, a citizen can hear the board discussion and then have an opportunity to speak. Not so at the Airport Advisory Board. You get 3 minutes whether it's on the agenda or not on the agenda. So for the public to make a comment about something at the Airport Advisory Board, you have to be a mind reader. I wonder what the Airport Advisory Board is going to say, and is it the same thing I'm going to say? So you have to make, as a citizen, your comments before you've even heard the agenda item or the board comment. I would like the board to direct staff to change that so that at the Airport Advisory Board, it's like the county commissioners. If it's not on the agenda, you get to say something, but when the agenda item comes, there's time for public discussion after the public has heard the presentation and the board comments. It makes no sense that you have 3 minutes to talk about something on the agenda or not on the agenda, and I really wish that would change. Legally, I don't know if they have to, but it makes sense. I've also asked if the public could make a comment after, at the end of the Airport Advisory Board, having heard stuff. No, you cannot do that. Why? You just can't. So I hope you get the picture, and hopefully you can change that.
Yeah.
And
Well,
thank you.
and we'd have to look at all of our boards to make it
Yeah,
uniform.
to make it
So,
uniform
we
and
try and
equal.
have a process so the public knows what to expect at every
Exactly.
meeting. Doesn't mean we can't discuss it, and so Rich and John and I, when we meet,
Yeah.
we will talk about all the different
Yeah.
avenues.
But today, it worked. I mean, and it's fine, and I thank you. And again, thank you so much, Gabe and Rick, for all
Well,
you do
thank
for the
you.
community.
And
Yeah,
so
thank
I
you.
believe that the airport retreat, advisory board retreat will be Zoomed now.
It will be Zoom, but there will be no opportunity for input.
Because
We
it's
can
a,
watch.
it's because it's a board retreat. So there's a little bit different there, Ellen. And we have a purpose behind board retreats, but it'll come back to another meeting when the public, we
Yeah.
will try and facilitate that participation.
In my opinion, if there's technical information presentation, that's a work session, just my opinion.
Okay, thanks, Ellen.
Thank you.
Okay, bringing it back to the board. I am going, if there are other members or anyone online who would like to make public comment on this item on our agenda? I don't think we have anybody else. Are we good? Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna bring it back, and I'm gonna close the public hearing on this item, bring it back to the board. We have Mr. Wrestler, though. Dave, did you want to say anything? You are a member of the public in a way, but
Yeah, thank you. And I've enjoyed listening to the conversation. I appreciate the support of Rick and Ellen and all of the BOCC. As you mentioned earlier, Patty, the hospital is proud to be a partner and contractor with the Aspen Ambulance District, which you govern. And we're also very proud of the leadership that Gabe provides. He's truly an exceptional leader, and I think you've all seen that over the years, and he's built an amazing program that provides the highest level of services to the community, and that those services are enhanced through the clinical relationship with the hospital. So this is a fantastic working relationship we have, and we're proud to be a part of it, and we appreciate all of your support, and we look forward to getting out to vote.
great, thank you, thanks. Okay, bringing it back to the board.
Great. I'm ready to make a motion unless Steve wants to say something.
Steve?
Well, the only comment I would make is I know that there are some residents in our population who are senior citizens who live on basically a fixed income. They might get the Social Security cost of living increase each year, but basically their income is not going up, and when their taxes go up for any reason, they feel it, and they sometimes complain about it to us. And I sympathize with them. We do have mechanisms that they can regain, get the senior property tax exemption kind of a thing that can help them. But I think over the whole population, when you look at this proposal, this will make the ambulance district bring it to a sustainable level that we can keep going for years and years and not always have you being short on money and not being able to fund things properly. The benefits that you bring to the community are immense, and especially given that this is a world-class resort community, it's so important that we take care of our residents and our visitors alike in the best way that we can, because that's our way we can support the tourist economy. So I know that we will be probably hearing from some people complaining about a tax increase that they feel they can't afford. and we just need to be prepared to let them know the importance of having the ambulance district be financially sustainable and well-funded, and this is the way that we can achieve that.
The importance of knowing that help is on the way. Greg?
Sure, I don't know if
Kelly,
Kelly
did you-
had a question or I just want to acknowledge her. No?
Thanks. Well, I had a comment and then I just wanted to revisit something we talked about previously. So I thought we were gonna I thought the conversation was gonna take a turn about how we get reimbursements for Band-Aids, and which I'm glad we're not doing, because that would be really a really bad Band-Aid for the structural deficit. So, yeah, so I support moving this forward, and I really thank you for the additional information, because it does help me articulate and illustrate the problem better to the community. So thank you for that. And then I just could use a little more guidance again from John Ely about what we are allowed to do and not do now on adoption of this. As board members moving forward, and if we're allowed to ask staff for information or logos or any kind of stuff like that as we try and create the campaign around this ballot measure.
Okay, I'll turn it over to John Ely.
Kelly, well, particularly to the two items you brought up, yes, you can ask staff for information. You can do that on any type of ballot issue. I'm not sure what logos mean, but to me that indicates some sort of use of staff time to create something that would be used in support of a ballot measure, and that you can't use. So the cleanest way, I think, of looking at it in the most all-encompassing way is to just keep in mind that you cannot use public resources, which includes funds, personnel, equipment, buildings, any public resource, for the purpose of supporting or defeating any ballot measure or supporting or defeating any candidate for any office. So anything you do on your own time, essentially, or with your own resources, or with resources that come to, say, the group that Patty mentioned, the help is on its way, if that coalesces into a viable body, contributions that group might receive or the district might receive itself can be spent towards the support of the ballot question. But you cannot use public resources for any election purpose.
Okay. So we couldn't use like the Pickens County logo or the Aspen Ambulance District logo or something like that on materials.
I don't give the I don't speak for other districts, but except the ambulance district in this case, I would. But the logo is not something to be employed in that way. But the logo can be attached to a statement of the board. The board is free to make comment as a board. You can pass a resolution as a board, all in support of the ballot measure, and so that can be utilized then by the volunteer group. So if the board passes a resolution and dresses up the resolution with the county logo to make it more visible that this is a statement of the Pickens County Board of County Commissioners, and perhaps changes the font or the heading or something like that, that kind of thing can happen. The board can express its opinion on any election issue, and so then that expression can be used by other folks.
Okay, thank you.
Right, so did Dave Ressler, just so you know, I'm going to be calling you soon, and we can go stand in the parking lot at the hospital and have a discussion, because the board's going to need some help moving this forward to the voters. So be prepared.
Yeah, and as John said, speaking for the hospital, because we ourselves are a district, we have the same restrictions. And so we'll be respecting the differences between what we do as employees and what we do as individual members of the community. So after hours, not utilizing hospital resources, et cetera. But you can count on our support. We believe deeply in the cause, and this is so necessary to support the operations that we'll be standing side by side with you.
Great,
But
thank
not in
you.
the parking lot. You'll have to be in the street.
Oh, yeah.
Right, technically.
Can we be on the bike path?
Don't stand in the street, then it's my problem. Have bigger issues.
We
I'm
can walk
ready to
down to
make-
the church.
I'm ready to make a motion if we're ready for it.
That would be great.
The Board of Commissioners, acting as the Aspen Ambulance District Board, to submit to the electorate at the election to be held November 8th, 2022, a ballot question for the Aspen Ambulance District.
Okay,
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion. I have a second. Do I have any other comments from the board? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye. Thank you. Thank
Aye.
you very much. We are rolling.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. And great information you put together. We really
Thanks for
appreciate
that.
it.
Rick, I'll
Great,
see you
great
later.
presentation on that. Helps.
Kelly, I have a printout of the presentation I'll leave on your desk.
Okay, now, just so Representative Julie McCluskey knows, we continued our public comment so we can entertain you to come up when you got here. So we're going to take a little break from our regular meeting, and we're going to welcome Julie McCluskey. And it's so nice to see you.
It's so nice to see you. It is great to be here. And I am on, right?
You are on. You are ready to
Excellent.
roll.
Thank you, Chair Clapper. Julie McCluskey, State Representative for the current House District 61, which disappears in a few months. But fortunately for me, Pitkin County is still a part of my district, and I'm awfully glad to be here today to see everybody. I wanted to say hello, most importantly, and then provide a quick update, just a few of the highlights from session. Now that we're past July 1, money is flowing, and I want to make sure that Pitkin County is getting an opportunity to partake in some of the affordable housing grants that are now coming forward, some of the workforce revitalization grants, as well as behavioral and mental health grant programs. So, it was probably the session to end all sessions. I don't believe the state has ever had the opportunity to make the kinds of investments that we made this year. Back in 2020, we had cut the state's budget by $3.3 billion. Which was devastating at the time, but the economy rebounded well. We have received a generous investment of federal funding, $3.8 billion through ARPA. I know counties as well received a fair share of federal support. And so we had this last session, that moment to revisit what our priorities were as a state, where could we make strategic investments that really could move Colorado forward, help bring back, get us back on track, I should say, after a rather upsetting and challenging global pandemic and kind of economic crisis or stall. So $428 million to affordable housing projects. Kelly, thank you for all your good work on the housing front. I'm sure other members here were weighing in. We had a lot of local voice and good, strong rural voice on the affordable housing challenges. Of the biggest bill, the $178 million, half of that needs to go to rural Colorado. So that's pretty exciting that there's that level of commitment for the needs, particularly in rural resort communities. Also really pleased with standing up the BHA, the Behavioral Health Administration, investing those dollars in building residential beds. We have projected that there will be some increased operating costs in years to come, but that first $450 million is out the door, will be out the door, and excited to see how we can strengthen, revise, retool, improve behavioral health care in this state. And then finally, workforce. We're all seeing an incredible challenge. I don't know anymore if it's really the great resignation or the big quit. I tend to hear that there are other things at play impacting the return of our workforce. So the state did a lot to incentivize the pipelines for healthcare and education. We have put aside more than $80 million for regional grant programming, workforce talent development, whatever that may look like, and focusing on regions. So I anticipate again that Pitkin will be a part of a larger group or collaboration on that front. As water, wildfire, and our wonderful wilderness continue to be, front and center for all of us, pleased that we continue to make more investments in wildfire, watershed recovery. I anticipate, thank goodness we've had the moisture we have this summer, but I anticipate we're headed into our fire season finally, seeing that here in the fall, and hoping that the investments we've made will really start to pay off, whether it was in mitigation, prevention, community awareness, and we will have that fire hawk by December. So really hopeful that we don't need it in December, but that it becomes a part of our ongoing toolkit to fight fires. Water Congress is happening right now as we speak. I know the Water Resources Committee meets this afternoon. I'm going to join them. The water crisis continues, I believe, to be probably the centerpiece of conversations down at the Capitol. And we have a lot to deal with in the months and years ahead around the Colorado Compact. So that will be big. And then finally, education, always near and dear to my heart. We invested over $100 million in our colleges and universities trying to keep tuition rates flat. We also put a historic amount of money into our public schools. The budget stabilization factor is the lowest it has been in 10 years. It is the lowest it's ever been since its inception, which is important. And we hope in the next year or two to be able to pay it off entirely. So that was a lot.
I
It was
know
a
you do
great
such a good
session.
job, though.
Woo! Racing through. I would love to hear from you all what you are pleased with down at the state capitol and what we could be doing better and what your needs still are. You all do such a good job reaching out when there is legislation that may impact Pitkin County. I really want to commend this board. You work so well together. But I am sure there are things that don't always come through legislation that you'd like to make us aware of. So
I'm going to call on Kelly, but Kelly, before I call on you, can you just clarify this redistricting? So
Yes.
you are currently our state representative, and in the first of the year, you will no longer be our...
Should I be successful in my re-election in November, I will be elected to represent House District 13, which will include Grand, Jackson, Summit Lake, Park, and Chaffee counties. I lose, unfortunately, Pitkin, Gunnison, and Delta counties. Their redistricting brought changes, I think, to every legislator's district. There are a few of us that had very dramatic changes, mine being one. So know this, I am committed to the Western Slope. And even if the boundaries say that I am not your representative, I always will be. So I hope that you will call on me for any issue that comes up in Pitkin County. I will certainly be your ally.
Well, I was just going to say, we will always know where to find you, and you will always know where to find us.
Thank you.
So Kelly, go ahead, please. Kelly, thank you for inviting Julie to come and speak with us today, and I'm glad we were able to work out some time.
Yes, she reached out, so I'm glad we were as well. And Julie, I'm sorry I can't be there. My child care is a little wonky this week, so I'm home with Aloysius, but I'll see you this evening. I just wanted to take this moment, since we are in a public forum, to really thank you so much. I am going to miss you terribly as our representative in Pitkin County. I just think that you are one of the most intelligent, graceful, and successful and effective legislators that I've ever known. And you just steward bills through the legislature with a really collaborative and bipartisan, nonpartisan approach, and you bring people together without compromising the values of the people that you serve. And, Pitkin County's values are always front and center. And I just am amazed at your ability to do that over and over again on some really thorny issues and how you thoughtfully sit in your role at the Joint Budget Committee and the difficult task of having to slash billions of dollars from the budget on one hand, and then bringing together the community across the state to advise how to spend new influxes of money on the other hand. And I just admire you so much. I'm going to trust in your future success in your new district, and they are so lucky to have you.
Thank you, Commissioner. That means the world to me. Thank you.
And I am sorry we don't get to do the trailer court again during your campaign.
Right?
What are we going to do? We had so much fun. Okay, Greg?
I just wanted to say, I remember when Millie Hamner was leaving and you were introduced. I think
Yeah.
Millie introduced you to me or to us. And of course, those were huge shoes to fill. And you've done such an amazing job. I think she must be the most proud of you. And we have all been as well. So you won't have to cross the paths as often, you know, so maybe that's one good part, you know, benefit to this redistricting. But anyway, we're gonna miss you over here, and I really appreciate everything you've said. The question I have on my mind is, you know, and my peers and fellow board members could probably answer it better than I could, but just on accessing IRA funds as they're coming in, that come to the state, and you know, how are we going to meet our goals when it comes to electrification and climate change issues? We've got some very ambitious and aggressive and exciting plans for combating climate change, reducing carbon emissions, and we're going to be having to rely heavily on our state reps to help us. And so I'm hoping we get somebody who will be as half as good as you are, you know, going forward. But we'll be calling on you as well.
Thank you, Commissioner. So many kind words. I am truly grateful. And I love driving this way. Independence Pass and I are friends, right? Like, I have figured out, negotiated those turns, and it really has been an honor to serve you all. The question about IRA, you know, the infrastructure bill from last fall, really, we're still trying to grapple with those dollars and how we're going to be executing the projects that those dollars are helping to fund. How do we move that forward? The IRA will be next, the Inflation Reduction Act. We are hearing at the national level, and we're seeing it in the state, concerns about capacity. You know, this is a once-in-a-generation amount of funding for needs that this state has had for decades, and yet having workforce and qualified workforce. I heard just last week that CDOT is looking at shelving a couple of projects, in part because of workforce, and then the pressures of inflation, seeing skyrocketing costs and trying to balance out what the next best step is for some of that work. So I think it's going to be a dynamic and fluid conversation for a while. Commissioner Poshman, I think we need to stay in touch. We need to keep communicating with each other. I think if there are opportunities, and if this community is ready to seize those, it's important that we know that and we're able to drive those dollars here for whatever the need or the project might be.
Great. Well, that's what we're talking about too. And yeah, CDOT was here yesterday, and we had a long and informative, too short meeting, but it was amazing and a great meeting. So yeah, we were briefed on some of that.
Some of their challenges.
Their challenges,
Yeah,
right.
we could still be at that table today
Yeah,
with
that could
that
have been
discussion.
a long, could have been a retreat.
It was great,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
Steve?
Yeah, to tag on to the discussion about this, our CDOT discussion, they have the same issues that we have, that they're short on workers, mainly because of the housing issue. In our area, they were short. Right now, 36% of their workforce is vacant, the highest anywhere in the state. So the housing is definitely a problem for them, and then also just the cost of doing projects So we put projects out to bid and they come in so high that we don't do the project. Or we don't get any bids
don't get any
because
bids.
people are working on so many projects all across the state that they don't want another project to work on. So doing these infrastructure projects that are slated will be problematic, I think, to get, just like you say, to get the qualified workers, to be able to house them at reasonable cost in the proper location to do a job is really a task facing all of us. So just like you will no longer be our state representative, but Representative Dylan Roberts never was our representative, and I always felt like he was just a strong ally of you and of us, that we could always go to him and count on him to be standing up for the same ideals that we do and to support the same kind of legislation that would benefit Steamboat Springs and Aspen and any other resort mountain community. All have common interests. So whether you are our representative or not, I think we will still be coming to you for help and for advice. And
I hope so.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner. I do think the Western Slope, and particularly our rural resort communities, share so many of the same concerns and issues as well as successes. And I think a lot of us down at the Capitol, Republicans and Democrats alike, on the Western Slope, learn how to work together on those specific issues. I think housing is a great example. That was not a partisan issue. I think it is brilliant that the amount of money flowing to rural communities is the size that it is. And I hope, given maybe a plateauing inflationary number and cost of living starting to also plateau, maybe we will see that downturn and get to work, put people to work, get to work and get these projects done. So thank you.
So I'm going to give you a little heads up, since, as I spoke with you yesterday, I am running unopposed for my last 4 years, and I'm hoping to work for the next year, 2 years, 3, maybe 4, to really look at amending Tabor to provide the opportunity for municipalities and counties to do a real estate transfer tax. I've already started touching base with some entities out there, so I'll keep you in that loop, because it looks like we'll need help moving it forward, be it this year, coming year, or the year after. But as I said, I've got 4 more years to get it done, so.
Madam Chair, with your passion and commitment, I have no doubt it will get done.
Thank you.
I'd love to offer that about this time last year, when we realized the kind of Tabor surpluses the state would be facing, the governor made the commitment to the legislature that he was willing to invest in a broad statewide conversation, really take the time to look at fiscal reform for this state. In addition to that particular aspect of Tabor that I would agree, Madam Chair, like let's get this one thing done, if nothing else. You all are aware we lowered property taxes for 2 years. We did that to hold off ballot measures that I believe, had they proceeded and received title, would have been tremendous challenges to the future of our state. So we lowered those property taxes knowing that in 2 years, we need to have a solution to present to voters in this state around residential, non-residential tax rates, some of the implications of Tabor that are really crippling the state budget, potentially consideration for ongoing sustainable education funding. I am hopeful that with the governor's commitment, the legislature's commitment, that broad conversations will begin once we know who's doing what after the election. And we will have that opportunity to bring something forward by '24 that is a much improved approach to fiscal design in this state. So thank you. Appreciate
Well,
your
and
work.
I, going through my old files, I found information from when I first thought about doing this, when I was first elected in 1998. and took office in 1999. And I've been looking at this, and I thought, well, if I'm getting 4 more years, the time might be right for me to really put my energy in that direction. Either a simple change or, a bigger change, broader change, but it's going to be definitely discussed.
Excellent.
So thank you.
Look
And I
forward to
noticed
that.
Kelly has her hand up.
Yeah, I'd like to jump in on this. Unlike Patty, I am in a contested election, so we will see the outcomes of that come November 8th. Should I continue on in this role, I would love to be considered for involvement in that conversation, Rep. McCluskey. And I don't know if the task force on tax policy will play a role in that, through which I'm sitting on and can have that. But if it doesn't, please just keep me in mind.
Absolutely.
So Kelly and I will be the duo, hopefully, knocking on doors. So, yeah, so watch out for us when we're coming. So in light of the fact you have been such an amazing representative for Pitkin County, and we are excited, and we will be putting the word out there on the other side of the mountain to keep you down at the house, I have a little gift for you.
No.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
Is it under $56?
$55.95.
Well, I have to open it because I can only hope that it might be something that will
Edible?
remind me of Pitkin County.
Oh, yeah.
It's not chocolate, unfortunately.
It will remind everyone of
Look,
Pitkin County.
I'm official. Woohoo! Thank you. I'll wear this.
I know you will.
I promise.
Good idea.
When they
Patty.
turn the heat down in the Capitol to fight
Yes.
climate change,
Yeah.
then you better put that on.
Thank you.
So we are so glad that we had the opportunity to have you come here today and speak with us, and we will be seeing you later this evening.
Yes, and thank you all. Really, again, grateful. In the time between now and January 1st, know that I am certainly still your representative. I am chairing the Joint Budget Committee still.
Oh,
We have our
gosh.
next economic forecast here, September 22nd. I'm very eager to see what those numbers will tell us. And then the governor's budget is released November 1. We take that as a proposal, and then the legislature gets to decide what money is going where. And I'm eager to get back to work and start budgeting, because I think we're going to hear from communities about some of these capacity challenges, inflationary challenges. Again, would love to have you weigh in on the budget as that comes forward. But
We'll
thanks
be
again.
watching, that's
All
for sure.
right.
All right, thank you
Thank
so
you,
much. We
thank you,
appreciate it.
thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing for the day that we kept open, and I'm going to bring it back to the board for the next item on our agenda, which, Rich, are you handling this? So I will leave you the floor.
Yes, thank you. This is actually a public hearing
It
on
is.
the resolution that's in front of you regarding,
I meant public comment. I was closing public comment.
oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
No, I should have clarified that better.
No, that's good, thank you. What this is the second reading and public hearing for the airport grant. This is authorizing the chair to sign a grant agreement, and the number is 308-003-064-2022, which is an FAA grant in the amount of $1,388,845 for an updated airport layout plan for our Pitkin County Airport here, and authorizing the chair to sign the resolution. I will say that there's no changes since the first reading, and this is part of the process for getting that underway. We have a firm that we're going to be working with, and this is payment up to 90% of the work associated with that.
Great, thanks. Does the board have any comments before I open the public hearing? Okay, this is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public wishing to comment on this item on our agenda? If you are online, please hit *9 to raise your hand. Julie, thank you. We'll see you in a little bit. Not seeing anybody? Anybody in the room wishing to comment on this item on our agenda? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to the Board of Commissioners. For a motion.
So I would like to make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the Chair to sign the grant agreement with the FAA for all the amount, everything Rich just said, the amount for the updated airport layout plan for Sardi Field.
Great, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further comment? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Motion passes by 4-0, not 5-4. All right, next item on our agenda. We have the applicant being Pitkin County. It is a resolution approving the Vaughan Open Space Subdivision exemption to create an open space parcel, and Leslie Lamont from Community Development is presenting.
Hi.
And we have Dale Will from Open Space, and Alan Richmond, who is assisting Leslie and Dale.
Hi.
Hi.
Want to
Thank you
share
for
my
bearing with
screen?
us, so we could hear from Julie, who's awesome.
Yeah, wow.
She's great.
Sharing joint budget committee.
I know.
Yikes.
I could not even imagine.
Okay, so you gave us the title of this, and the applicant is Pitkin County Open Space and Trails, and Alan Richmond is the applicant's representative. Alan did provide the affidavit of public notice. Open Space and Trails requests approval of a subdivision of the Vaughan, well, it's actually the Irvin Naylor Lot Split Lot 2. And this first graphic is showing you the property that is owned by Brent Vaughn. And it's right off of the intersection with Old Snowmass Creek Road and Highway 82. The existing residence is over here on this side, and the property is bifurcated by the Rio Grande Trail. And above the trail is the piece of property that Pitkin County Open Space and Trails is interested in. And then this is a map that shows you how the newly acquired property will connect to the Wheatley Open Space and the Bionaise?
Well, Beone
Beone Gulch?
Gulch, but it's part of Lazy Glen Open Space.
Oh, okay. So this map is kind of showing you how the property would be divided. So Lot 2 will remain a private residential property of a little more than 8 acres. And Lot 2B will be conveyed to Pitkin County Open Space to be restricted as open space, and that will be 35.64 acres. And this is a one-step review to the BOCC. It's a subdivision exemption to create an open space parcel, and it is a public hearing. And I'll turn it over to Alan and Dale to give any other comments.
Hi, gentlemen.
Really not a lot that we need to add here. It's a section of the trail that I get to enjoy on a regular basis. I run it probably once a week or more every week, and preserving this steep area as open space is, as Leslie said, going to ensure the continuity between, or the contiguity between other open space parcels. So it fits right in rather neatly with your other open space purchases in this corridor.
Great, and I'll just add that we appreciate this provision in the county code. Open space is always trying to achieve its conservation objectives as efficiently as possible, and being able to peel off a portion of a parcel to become non-developed open space is an important part of our tool chest. Last time we did it, I think, was with the Grace Church, and we bought 10 acres off the backside, and that's now part of our agricultural leasing program. But it seems like I'm in here on one of these every couple of years as we find a property that's got a portion with high conservation values, and we really appreciate the support we get from community development in in putting these together, and Alan's my go-to guy in getting these subdivision exemption plats figured out. So the Open Space Board had unanimously recommended this purchase. The private owners had made it available to us at what I think is a very reasonable price, and we did have you all approve the ordinance a couple of months ago authorizing this acquisition with the contingency that this subdivision exemption would take place prior to our purchase.
So a question I have, above it in the paler pink, that is BLM,
Yes.
is that correct? And the, looks like the road or the significant path, that is the Holy Cross easement, or is it natural gas?
Both.
Both. Okay, and so that will be written into any management plan that will, because it's gonna tie that whole section, the two blues and the pinks, all together.
Yep.
And from a conservation point of view, one of the most important attributes, I think, of this transaction is it will forever eliminate the possibility that someone's gonna come back to Pitkin County and say, I want to subdivide this and run a driveway up onto that hillside, which we don't think would be appropriate.
Or do a constrained lot, which we love. Greg, please.
Yeah, question, just regarding the Rio Grande right-of-way, raft right-of-way, it appears, just looking at the plat, is it a 100-foot wide right-of-way, or is it a 60-foot wide? I thought it was 100 feet, but it looks like 60 on this. Just want to, and it looks like it's conforming to what lies on either side of it, but can you shed any light on that?
100 feet.
I think they claim a 100-foot right-of-way. I just wasn't sure how it's,
Yeah, it's showing up on the plat as 50 feet wide for the Denver and Rio Grande right away, and then the road is immediately adjacent to it. And I'm looking for a dimension on the
and I
road.
wonder if there's a road right-of-way as well?
Yeah, there's access back there to get to Lazy Glen.
I know every year or two, RAFTA does a survey and they go and check all of the encroachments and, just to make sure the right-of-way remains clean. It doesn't look like this is an issue, but it did give me pause, like, just how wide is it here? We all think it's the same. I think that 50-foot might be to the middle line, so maybe that is the 100-foot total. The way the arrows are on the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it looks like the North River Road is within the right of way. And
Okay.
that the overall Denver and Rio Grande probably is the 100-foot.
All right.
We did base this plat in part on the survey that RAFTA did. Of course, Pitkin County participated in that purchase through Open Space's acquisition of the trail easement within the RAFTA right-of-way. So we're pretty
tight.
Yeah, and we're pretty mindful about what goes on along that corridor.
Yeah, great. Well, this is very exciting.
And the hillside.
We can all color it blue now.
Yeah, and I have a question. So the existing private residence, what's the square footage? Approximate
Of
ballpark.
the lot or the
The house
residence?
structure.
I do not know that.
The lot's 8 acres.
The remaining portion of the lot will be
8 acres.
8 acres.
That
So-
house was built by Mark Weeda, and it's pretty big. I've been inside of it. I can't give you the number on it, but it's multiple floors, and
It's the one that
It's
comes
multi-
down from the road all the way
Yep,
down
it's
to
that
almost the
white one
river.
that-
Yeah,
Stair steps.
so it's probably built at its maximum. I'm just thinking in future development. I think it's probably built pretty much at its max.
it probably wouldn't be buildable today
Yeah, because of the step
because of the
backs.
setbacks.
Right.
It has an indoor movie theater in it.
Did they serve popcorn or free tacos? Okay, so any other comments from the board? Steve, please.
Well, I remember the photograph when we were looking at this, when I'm coming down Lower
Steve, is your mic on? Yeah.
When I'm coming down Lower Snowmass Creek Road, and that's the view we have as we approach the highway, is looking at that hillside. And I just absolutely love that picture with the train and having
Yeah.
the old,
Irrigation flume.
the pipeline up there for the irrigation ditch.
Yeah, that was a cool photo.
Yeah, so this, to me, connecting those two different parts of the open space land it's really important to have that connectivity. Now, looking at the easement for the power line and the road going up to that, it just looks on the map like it has possibilities of being some kind of a hiking trail that could go up into Beone Gulch from over by Wheatley Gulch. So when you're doing a management plan on it, that'd be something to look at. Maybe when you get on the ground, it wouldn't be a good trail, but looking at the map from up above, it looks like it should be explored.
In 2 dimensions, it's inviting. In 3 dimensions, it's a little bit less inviting. And that slope on the Wheatley side going up from the gulch onto that little platform is extremely steep. But certainly, we could look at it. I recall seeing snowboard tracks coming down the Beone side of it from some enterprising young folk that climbed up there and have actually skied it. But we can look at it. Both Beone and Wheatley Gulches are places that we don't invite a lot of use because of the biodiversity up there. But it'll give the county those choices forevermore to look at that kind of thing.
It's kind of nice maybe we should start a virtual trail system. As long as they don't go there, they can enjoy it.
You can enjoy it.
In 2 dimensions. I like that. So with street view.
Oh, God.
Well, just this morning.
Can we do that with bicycle riding through Shale Bluffs?
No, that's got to be, that's 2 minutes of terror. I thrive on that. This morning I had a meeting with Ward Hallenstein and another person, and we were just talking about what an amazing thing the trail system and the open space systems we have here in the county and with the city are uncomparable. I don't know if there's any other place on the planet that's doing as much, and at least is not certainly as nice. And it's just so great. And I keep thinking that I want to put a camera on the front of my bicycle and ride up there to get the point of view of a locomotive coming up the Rio Grande, and how much nicer that commute is on the bicycle than it is being stuffed on 82 with all the traffic. Is my own little. Maybe I'll put that together, just to have a virtual train trip into Aspen to show what it's like on those trails, these great trails that we've preserved over these years. So this is another piece of the puzzle. Thank you.
Yeah, and one of the best connections for that is when you go down and cross the bridge to go over to Lazy Glen. That little section down there, that little grove of cottonwoods and vines and stuff, is like being in an arboretum.
That's right. You're right.
It is so cool, that section of river there, and just that little walkway up towards Cooper's place at Lazy Glen is just, you get down there and you have to try and remember where you are. It's magical. Yeah, it's pretty special. All right, any other members, comments from the board? I'm going to open the public hearing. Are there any members of the public in the room who would like to comment on this item? Or if you're online, please star 9 to raise your hand if you'd like to make a comment. We have Susan, who has been with us, I think, for the entire meeting. I don't know if you were waiting to comment on this item. If so, please star 9 to raise your hand. Give you a few minutes. Okay. Seeing no one who wishes to comment on this amazing application before us, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to the Board of Commissioners for a motion.
So I would like to make a motion to approve the resolution of the board approving the Vaughn subdivision exemption to create an open space parcel.
I'll second that.
I'll second.
I'll third it.
And I'll fourth it. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0, and I know Francie would be on board with us if she were here. But again, she's dancing with wolves. So, yes, thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thanks for bringing this in.
Okay, before wrapping our meeting, it's only 1:30. Kelly, you were right. We got through this meeting much faster than I thought we would today. And we did have great time with Julie.
I know how you roll.
So I'm going to bring it back to staff for open discussion.
I do not have anything, Patty. Thank you.
Okay.
You've been, as
And we did get a letter from Mike Maple about CDOT and Glenwood Canyon. Greg, would you like us to just forward that on to CDOT and have them respond?
I
Because
think
it's,
that would be
I will,
more
I
accurate.
can do that.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
I will do that this afternoon. Bye, thank you. Oh,
Bye,
and Alan,
Alan.
when are you retiring?
Who knows?
Okay, let us know.
Next spring.
We'll do another party in the park.
My lease runs out in the spring.
We can find space for you.
Thanks.
Does the board have any other, we also did get a letter from Mike about transparency with posting our salaries, the public notice that was in the paper. He felt it was confusing. I got a response from Ann and from Charlotte, so I will forward that on and ask them to respond to Mike.
Okay.
Is that
Sounds
okay?
good. Yeah.
Okay. And is there anything else the board would like to bring
Just
up?
one, I'm just thinking, not to bring up something, but this morning, a bus window was broken in Glenwood, and there was an assumption that it was gunfire, and they now think it was a slingshot with a, ball bearing or something. So I just wanted to say, before people start thinking there's somebody shooting at buses, it's still a serious thing, but I just thought rumors spread quickly, but I don't think a bus was, we're not certain yet. It's under investigation, but there's an assumption that it was not a gunfire at this
Okay,
point.
that is
good
good
to
to
hear.
know because it was right across from the public school bus stop, which is where my kindergarten granddaughter was waiting this morning to catch her school bus for her
Right.
third day of kindergarten.
Yeah.
So it was alarming, but after what happened yesterday, day before yesterday, on Monday in Carbondale, we're all on edge right now with a lot of things, and we need to take deep breaths, keep our eye out to be safe. And I think people need to know that whenever you have a concern, it's okay to call and report it. Better, again, to be safe than sorry. And, but also, sometimes panic, fear, makes situations worse. So everybody, again, try and take a deep breath and think about your actions on all sides of an issue. Okay,
Well
Steve?
said.
Grandpa, we have to have a name for you.
Grandpa.
Gramps.
Grandpa.
So, in light of Ellen Anderson's comments earlier, she really spoke to feelings that I have had for close to 10 years now, that part of our process, of the public hearing process, to me has been not the way we should have it. So we'll have the first reading on something when the public can't comment, going by our rules, and then we have the second hearing after everything's pretty much all been decided. That's when the public is allowed to comment on it. I think it should be that they should be allowed to speak at both the first reading and the second reading, because at the first reading, they still have the opportunity to make meaningful changes to, or suggestions for changes to something that is being proposed.
Well, Steve, I'm going to write that on my work session. I think that's a work session discussion so that we can have a thorough vetting of why we have the process as it stands now, how that came about, and if the board does want to change it, how we will still manage to do that. I'm sure there were some good reasons as to why it is what it is now. Doesn't mean it has to stay that way, but it may explain to us why we do it in that manner and what we would have to do to change that process if we chose to do so.
Thank you.
Then also, from time to time, I mean, usually 3 minutes is enough time for a person to bring their points up. But in some instances where it's a bigger discussion, they really need at least 5 minutes, I would say, would be the minimum in some cases for public comment. To not cut somebody off who's an expert or has a really good idea and they need some time to explain it. And I realize it's up partly to the discretion of the chair of that, whatever the board is that's doing the public hearing, that they could allow someone to speak longer, but I think we should investigate that too, to not have 3 minutes, make it 5 minutes. It's an opportunity for the public to have some input into what the county does. And I think, just like Ellen points out, that's important that we listen to the public. So I think both those things, as, I don't know if it's sort of an unofficial policy or official policy why we do things that way, I think are worth investigating, and maybe, allowing more time, a little more opportunity for the public
Well,
to
I think
comment.
then you have to remember that to be consistent and fair, every member of the public coming in should be allowed the same amount of time. And there are times when 5 minutes is a long time. And, in Ellen's comments today, but she brought up her second comments at the hearing for the ballot question, which was not the item before us. So there's some management I think the board needs to, I don't want to say, it's not control, it's management of meetings. And, but then again, if you're going to say, well, you're an expert, so you get 10 minutes, and you're not an expert, you only get 3, that's going to really cause problems with the community. So if we're going to make changes, they have to be consistently applied, in all fairness to the public, and in all fairness to the Board of Commissioners and to staff. So that's a bigger discussion, so I think I will put that on for some work session time and have the board, figure out what the board wants to do, and if the board decides to make changes, then we'll move in that direction.
I welcome the conversation.
Yeah, and, Pat, I just might mention, this is the first time that we've had an opportunity to really sit down with this advisory board in the retreat setting to really talk through some of these things. It's been they've been drinking from the fire hose. We've been trying to get them educated, but we haven't had a chance to look inward. It is an advisory board. You have tasked those members to make their decisions. Anything that comes to you is going to get, in a form of a policy recommendation, is going to get 2 readings before you adopt it. So there's all opportunities as this moves along, but this is a very intelligent board. They work for the greater good of the public, and their heart's in the right places. It's just trying to strike that balance, and eventually we're going to get there. But we've got a really good, strong board, and we're getting excited about what the future holds here. And they are going to get into some tough decisions that are going to be coming forward. And so that's what I'm hoping at the retreat, that they really take this on and decide how they want to receive public input. The terminal is a great example. We're going to be needing to decide on firms, consultants. We have always followed a process from the county's process and how we do these things, at least to get it established. But there's going to be really a lot of input that's going to be needed. And that board needs to decide how they want to do it, and what role they play in it. So,
And that goes to my comment about consistency also within the boards, because, if we open a door here, we might open all, so it's a broader, much deeper dive discussion.
it is.
I do understand it's first reading, why can't people make comment and then make the same comments for second reading, in all fairness, I remember all the years I sat on that side of the table, and it was frustrating, but the system worked, and you get your 3 minutes is actually a pretty good amount of time. If I'm given 3 minutes to do a presentation somewhere, it's sometimes hard to fill that 3 minutes without going off onto tangents. So 5 minutes is a significant amount of time when you're presenting, and then if you can imagine it's short-term rentals, if we'd given everybody 5 minutes, we'd still be sitting here listening to everybody. So there's a reason that people can say what they need to say if they don't repeat themselves, and they have their comments kind of written out. But I think that should be part of a BOCC discussion sometime here in the near future. So I'll try and make sure we get some meeting time scheduled.
Yeah, one other factor that comes into play, and I will always remember Stan Booth coming to our commissioner meeting to comment about the neighbor's proposal down in the Holland Hills commercial zone there. And he probably had never spoken at a public meeting in his life the way he was speaking. He wasn't a public speaker. He was very uncomfortable. And I was the chair that time. And I realized he's organizing his thoughts while he's speaking. He's speaking slowly. He was uncomfortable speaking. And I realized that, and I just gave him time to say everything he wanted to say, even though it ran over our 3-minute limit by, I don't remember, maybe it was twice as long for him to say what he wanted to say. But that was his opportunity to make comments on the proposal that was right next door to their house. And I remember Commissioner Newman sending darts my way with his eyes on, why are you letting him speak so long? But that was the reason I did, so I could hear Stan Booth and not rush him, make him feel more uncomfortable than he already was. And I'll always remember that as, that's how I want to treat the public, is to
Well, Steve,
give them every opportunity to hear them.
Yeah, I more than understand that. It's just that then you hear from the person sitting next who's going to come back and get you, or make it
No.
a legal issue, a legal challenge that you favored somebody over somebody else and you were discriminating. And so we have to be very careful. If we're going to allow one to do X, we have to allow everybody to do
I
X.
realize that.
We
yeah.
cannot be the judge of, well, this guy's nervous. It's amazing how many people are nervous coming before us, and I don't really think we're that scary, but apparently some people think we are. So, but we'll have a discussion. If that's okay with the board, I'll see if we can get some agenda time, yeah?
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Okay, anything else we need to discuss? Kelly, did you have any open discussion?
Not today, thank you.
Okay, and it looks like Leslie is gonna be able to schedule that meeting, that site visit on the 19th, in time for Kelly, you to get back to Basalt and for me to get over the mountains, so, it looks like that day's gonna work out. Steve, I'm sorry you won't be able to join us, but I think you're pretty familiar with that property down there, so.
Yeah, and if I just have good maps to look at, because I've been on
Yeah.
the property multiple times.
And maybe if the story, you'll be back on the 19th, so maybe if the story poles are left up, you can drive by that one of those next days. We'll see if we can't have them leave them up for a couple days for you. I'll run that by Leslie.
Okay.
Okay. Seeing that I think we're done, I would love to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second?
I have a motion, I have a second. I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Grassroots, thank you. We are done for the day. And of course.